listening to Cowboy Logic with Jason Forby, a message of grace and hope.
Is everybody good? All right, so good deal. I like it. We talk about what we've been on for a while now, how to win, right? How to win, because we like winning. We believe it's the will of God around here for us to win and to see victory. And so just because we haven't always seen that doesn't mean that, everything that happens is the will of God, right? Religion tried to say, well, God's in control. Everything happens for a reason. Yeah, well, sometimes the reason was because I'm an idiot. Yeah, nobody else, just me. So, all right, everybody looking down, looking around. Sometimes I'm the bonehead in the deal. It was some things happen in our lives because we don't know any better. There's all kinds of variables, and so just because something happens doesn't mean it's the will of God. God's will, is available, and Jesus came to reveal it. Doesn't mean it just automatically happens, because then we're just a bunch of robots, and, if that's the case, what's the point of even praying? What's the point of him saying you have authority? What's the point of over and over how much power there is in your tongue? You know what I'm saying? Guard your heart, because out of it flow the issues of life. Come on, all that stuff's in there. It can't mean that, well, God's in complete sovereign control. Everything that happens, he's like a master strategic and this. No, it's... So how does it happen then? How does all that work? And so we've just been talking about for weeks now how to win. So different things. We've been at this a while now. We get to walk through life with people. What patterns do we see? What things cause people to experience victory more? What causes people to experience victory less? So let's learn from all of our mistakes and see what's up, right? So this week we're going to talk about how to win. How to win. I would say that it would be like this. Everybody knows you're in a fight. Really, it's a fight, right? Does anybody know it's a struggle sometimes? Anybody know there's a fight going on sometimes? I would say a better way to put it is to know where the fight is. To know where the fight is, right? If you don't know where the fight is, you might not show up. Remember in school, you can't say this now in school. Everybody's so dang sensitive, but you say, meet me on the playground after school. Right? I mean, you guys are good. Meet me on the playground, right? And if you say, hey, yeah, I'm going to get you someday somewhere, well, what does that mean? But if it says, me and you on the playground after school, it's on, right? There's no doubt about when, where, what. It's on. And one of the keys to knowing and being able to win the fight is to know where the fight's at. If you don't know where the fight's at, you're liable to show up at the wrong spot. And you're in the wrong spot, you ain't going to win. All right, so let's look a little here. This is 2 Corinthians, I think it's 10, 3 and 4. This is a Good News translation. It says, you guys have heard this before. It's, I think, a King James might say, for we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. You remember that? Our weapons are not carnal, but mighty through God, the pulling down of strongholds and all that. Well, what does that mean? Good News says this. It is true that we live in the world, but we do not fight from worldly motives. The weapons we use in our fight, see there, we're in a fight, right? And there's even weapons. I like that. The weapons we use in our fight are not the world's weapons, but God's powerful weapons. Not the world's weapons, but God's powerful weapons, which we use to destroy strongholds. We destroy false arguments. What is a stronghold? A stronghold is a mindset, a way of thinking that has been producing and giving the enemy or the lie a place to hide and operate in our lives, right? Let's see what, how about New American Standard? It says this, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but divinely powerful for the destruction of forces. Paul would say in Romans 12, verse 1 would say, present your body a living sacrifice. Right? Remember this one, which is your reasonable service. Verse 2 says, don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what is the good and perfect, acceptable will of God. Got it? It's like present your body a living sacrifice. So our weapons are not of the world. So what does that even mean? What's of the world, right? So we're born in this world. You live in this world. There's like a physical, right? Flesh. We hear flesh, and because we've been in church, we think, oh, sinful nature on it. It doesn't. Just a body. It's natural. It's a physical self, right? We've all got one. If you ain't got one, you got to go. So we're having a physical experience, and we were born with a body, and our body is our access to the natural world around us and what we're experiencing. And you have 5 senses, right? Seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting. Yeah, that's a good one. So what happens now? What happens in this? And we grew up in this, and we had this implanted in us before we knew any better, right? But what's happening is you have these senses, and your body is always gathering information, and your mind takes in information, and so now you're gathering. Oh, that's hot. Don't touch that, right? My mind gathered. Oh, that doesn't taste good, or oh, that looks dangerous. I better run, or I heard something, right? All the time, my mind is gathering information, and I'm processing this information, hopefully to survive or to deal with whatever surroundings we have going on, right? So that's our access to the natural, physical level of life. Can we say it like that? But Paul's saying, look, I know you came up in this world, and I know you've gathered all of your information that you considered to be true through your body, but I want you to present your body now as a living sacrifice. What is a living sacrifice? Like, sacrifice means, right? Well, how do you have a living sacrifice? Oh, I think he's saying, Jason's opinion, you don't have to go along with it if you don't want to. I just think he's saying, look, it's a living, so you need it to stay here. You're alive and you're living in it and you need it, but I want you to count it as dead. You've been trained up to gather information through this way. Don't be conformed to this world any longer. Saying, look, you lived in the natural world, the physical world, you have a physical body, and that's the way you've been trained up to gather all of your information. Don't be conformed to that any longer. Count that thing as dead. Be transformed by renewing your mind and gathering your truth and information from a different source now. Did I get that out? You can be transformed by making this switch. You ready? This is what I'm after today. We're going to make a switch. Make the switch of, okay, you were gathering information in this way. There's a natural physical level of life, but we're going to renew our minds now and start gathering information no longer from the physical, natural, touchable world. We're going to get our truth now from the heart of God, from the kingdom of God, the will of God. If you'll make this switch, then you will prove what is the good and perfect, acceptable will of God. Is that what it said? Most of us, most everybody, it doesn't matter if you've been in church or not in church or even can spell God, most everybody has been going through life fighting this fight on a natural level. It's what we do, right? We fight natural fights with natural means, and that's the way we've lived, and sometimes we see some victory in that. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. All I'm saying is there's a better way. There's a higher law. There's another level of being able to operate and have an influence in changing the physical world if you'll figure out that the fight is not in the physical world. The fight is underneath. It's like Paul would say, the seen or the unseen, the natural or the spiritual. Come on, you got it? And so it's like if we could learn where the fight's actually at, we could go where the fight actually is and have a whole lot more success rate and experience a whole lot more victory. Come on, you got it? Lana just said, we just heard the testimony of Dale, said his physical body had a problem, right? Physical, natural, touchable experience was that there's a blockage. Rushed him to the emergency room, and they do what they do. You know, I'm not against that. You know, it's good. It's the natural way of doing things. But on the way, it must have been serious. Helicoptered him, and so what'd she do? She goes to where the fight really is. She gets her sisters involved, and something happens. And when they're over there, they said, we don't know what happened, but the thing was there. Now it's no longer there. What happened? Something changed in the physical because some people knew where the fight actually was and said, okay, we're going to use the physical if we need to, but there's a higher law. So what happens now, this switch that takes place, I wish I had a formula or just a way to lay it out to say, if you'll repeat after me, it'll just happen. I wish it was that simple and easy, but all I know to do is to say we need this, and we're asking God to do this in us and to somehow flip the switch where this becomes obvious to us. Because here's the deal. If you gather your information from the natural, it's up and down, it's everywhere, what you see with your eyes is not always good. It's like living the life of faith. Living the life of faith. Faith is this, no longer living by what you see with your senses. Faith is living according to a different way than just what your natural five senses can gather your truth. And this is where most people have lived. So I'm saying, how does it look, right? I'm going to gather my truth from somewhere else because here's the information we're being given. You with me? I'll say, I'm going to get my truth from somewhere else. I'm making the switch. What am I feeding my mind? Is what's natural or what's deeper? What's the heart of God? I'm just saying, what is faith? So I want to know what God says about it, and that's where I'm going to gather my information. This is truth. You could say it as truth versus facts. No one's saying that facts aren't there. No one's saying that facts aren't real. I'm just saying that truth overrides facts. Okay, example. Jesus comes walking on the water. Jesus is the truth, right? Well, we know in the natural physical world, gravity, buoyancy, weight of a man. I don't know what Jesus weighed. He walked a lot. He's probably trim and buff. And let's say weighed 175 pounds. I don't know. But a 175-pound man, according to the natural laws of creation, sinks. Fair enough, right? I mean, that's just the way things work in the natural. But truth overrides natural. Jesus comes walking along on top of the water. Now, how's that happen, right? He knew there's a higher law to operate by, and he exercised it in his life. Come on, you got it? So I'm just saying, how does this look? How does this work? For me, I would say, to start somewhere small, but just to say, you know what? The truth is who God says I am. The truth is what the will of God is for me. The truth is who He says we are, not what I'm experiencing, not what I'm seeing, whatever the physical's declaring. The physical will lie, right? Physical will lie. And we can either believe that, because here's the deal. Here's a lie, here's the truth. Whichever one you believe is the one you'll experience. Doggone it. Don't you wish it wasn't that way? You just, God's good and He wants good for me, and let's go with whatever He does. No, it's said all over the whole Bible. Death and life is in the power of your tongue. Why? Because your tongue is saying whatever it is you believe. Come on. It's like I heard the one saying I like. It says, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't. You're right. Come on, is everybody good? Is this too tough? It's like, you saying it's all my fault? Well, no, kinda, but no. I mean, a little bit, yeah. No, we didn't know any better, right? I'm just saying, you just got to be kind of hard-headed. It's like, I like this stuff because I like to be tough. I'm a cowboy. I'm hard-headed, so I can say, you know what? I'm going to believe what God said. I don't care what I see. This is how you become dangerous. This is how you become dangerous. I know what the will of God is for me. I know what the heart of God is for me. I know what's been made available for us through grace. It ain't because we did anything to earn it. It's because it's the heart of God. I didn't achieve it. I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it. It had nothing to do with it. It's the heart of God for me. So now I know what is the heart of God for me. I know what the will of God is for me. I know what the kingdom of God has accessible for us. So that's going to be our truths from now on. Is it the will of God for me to be healed? Absolutely yes, 100% of the time. Absolutely 100% of the time. It is the will of God for you to be healed right now. He's not got some master plan to say, well, I'm going to leave him sick for a few days to teach him a lesson. Come on, if you did that, they'd call child services. So I've just settled the fact for myself. So that's the reality for me. That's the reality that I choose to see with my heart versus what I see with my eyes. Because what I see with my eyes is not always lines up. So I choose to ignore that and count it as dead and go with the heart of God. And you're going to have to be hard-headed. You're going to have to be grit. You're going to have to be tough because it don't always match up. You choose. Is everybody all right? I'm just going to say, I'm going to believe. I believe I'm healed. He said I'm already, this is what God said, by His stripes you were healed. So on one level, you're healed. On one level, you're not seeing it and experiencing it yet. So which world are you going to live in? Which world is going to be your reality? Which world are you going to talk about? Because whichever one you're living in is the one you're going to be experiencing. You have the authority to choose which becomes a reality. And I'm telling you, I'm convinced there is nothing in the natural world that we cannot influence. There is nothing in the natural world that we cannot have an effect on and change for the good and bring about God. Come on. Jesus modeled this. I mean, He went around talking to trees and they died. All this stuff in the creation, it's a natural, physical world. He influenced it everywhere He went. Eyes weren't working right, He made them work right. Ears weren't working right, He made them work right. Trees weren't doing right, He cursed them. They withered up and died. Storm come along, He told it to be still. It became what He called it. How come? He understood everything starts unseen. He knew where the fight was. We've been trying to win a fight with the natural stuff. Like, you go, oh gosh, everybody thinks I'm hard on doctors. I'm not, Al. But really, a doctor's job is to use physical means to help a physical body. That's their job, right? I'm glad for that. None of us would be here without them. I'm not against them. I'm just saying that the natural ways of fixing natural problems is not as good as God's. That's all I'm saying. Is that fair? Fair? I mean, nothing wrong with using both. But let's at least use the one that's sure for sure. I mean, you can use both or whatever. Use everything you can. It doesn't matter to Him what means you use. Just get it. Whatever means you believe in. He's saying get it. Remember Jairus? Jairus comes along. Jesus healing folks everywhere, right? Jairus comes along, said, my daughter's at home. If you'll come lay hands on her, she'll be made well. Jesus said, okay, let's go. While they're going, here comes a woman with the issue of blood. While they're going to Jairus' house, the woman with the issue of blood said, if I just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made well. And what did Jesus say? No, now I've laid out certain ways that this has to be taking place, and you didn't come and get me to... Nope. She said, if I just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made well. She pushes through the crowd, touches his garment, gets healed, and he doesn't even know who touched him. Why would he say that? He's saying because it doesn't matter who. Then he says, daughter, your faith made you well. It went according to the way you decided it would go. And then, Jairus is getting antsy, and then it go away and heals the daughter. And then here comes the Roman centurion. He said, my boy at home, he's it. And Jesus said, all right, let's go. We'll go heal him too. And the centurion said, no, I'm not worthy for you to come to my house. If you just say the word from here, my servant be healed, right? Jesus is like, whoa. Now this guy's got faith, right? In other words, he's saying, okay, come to the house. You lay hands. Okay. Just touch his clothes. Okay. Just say it from here. Okay. However, I don't care. Let's just get it. Sometimes we just have a hard time deciding and not even show up at the fight. And it's like he's saying, you got to believe something so I can do. Come on, you got it? I'm just saying let's show up at the fight where the fight's really going on. The fight's going on right here. Where are you going to gather your truth? Because your mind is gathering information and it's forming what you believe all the time. It's forming what you believe all the time. Doctor said you're going to die. How many have seen? We've seen over and over around here. Doctor said you got 6 months, go home and get ready. I've been at it long enough now. I've walked through this with people, and I can tell you, I don't have statistics or whatever, but the people, you can even leave God out of it, all right? I don't suggest that, but even if you leave God out of it, the people that go, oh gosh, I'm dead, and go home and sit down and cry, they last a week sometimes. But the people that go home and say, no, I ain't going out like that. No, I'm not having that. No, I'm not. He's not getting a final say on this deal. I'm going to fight this deal. Those people win. whether they knew a scripture or not. I'm just telling you, the majority of the time, people that fight and have a winning attitude and a believe in a positive mindset will win, and the people that... So if you get God involved, how much more can we experience victory? You got it? So I'm just going to believe what God says about my deal, and He says I'm healed. Anything that declares something else, even if I'm seeing it with my eyes or hearing it with my ears, to me, I'm considering it a lie. This thing gathering information is dead to me. You no longer get an opinion. You no longer get to say. You do not decide for me any longer. My heart and mind tied to God gets to decide from this day forward. You got it? Now we need help with that, don't we? I need Him to teach me that and to strengthen me and to show me that and to rewire me and to retrain me, because some of us have been around a while. We've been conformed to the world a long time. Now don't think evil, sinful stuff. Conform to the world. That we've just been operating in this way on this level of natural, physical stuff. I want to gather my information from a different place, don't you? And so I want to know the truth of God. I want to hear the voice of God. Anybody been in the fire, and anybody been in the darkness, and anybody been like lost and not know what the heck's up, and then you hear His voice? Oh. All right, everybody good? Anybody want to believe the truth of God and the heart of God and let that determine our reality, even when it doesn't look like it? Here's the deal. Just because you went to church today and you said, oh yeah, I think that's right, I'm going to decide to believe. How many experienced not necessarily ever an enemy just lays down there and says, oh, okay, you got me. I'm done now. If that happens for you, I'm proud. I'm proud for you. But for some reason, it seems like there's war that's going on just because you got a little piece of information and might have thought it or said it one time. The enemy is not just going to lay down and say, okay, you got me, because the enemy's not convinced that you're really convinced. If you're a believer, if you really believe, you might have to prove it. You might have to prove it. So we'll talk about that next time, all right? Is everybody good? Pray like this: your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Do you know that's a pretty simple thing for me. It's like, what's the will of God for me in heaven? Come on, what's the will of God for us in heaven? We got that, right? So if that's His will for me in heaven, it's also His will for me now. Come on, I know nobody tells you this stuff. They said you got to wait till over yonder, but Jesus didn't say it. Jesus said pray that His will would be done on earth right now, the same as it is in heaven. So if it's His will for me in heaven, it's His will for me now. Come on, we're already seated in heavenly places, are we not? Is that what it says? Now you're going to have to look with different eyes to see that. These eyes don't say that, especially if you watch the news. Come on, Paul prayed in Ephesians 1. He said, let the eyes of our heart be enlightened. If I can see with my heart and see the heart of God and the kingdom of God and the will of God for me, I'll start seeing with those eyes. I'll start gathering my information there and start producing that reality around me in the physical. Got it? Well, we're asking Him to teach us and to do it in us and to reveal it to us, and we hear His voice and all that. So nobody be sweating or fretting, all right? We're just going to ask Him to do it in us. I think we ought to talk about it a little, don't you? I like it. I like winning, hanging out with winners. So
Please follow and share this message. And for more information, visit srcowboychurch.com.